I've been sitting here for a while thinking, how am I going to talk about this subject? Because it's such a big subject. It's a subject that fascinates me as well. And it's about, I've spoken before on here about different ways of thinking, two different levels of thinking. And to simplify it, we've got our conscious minds and our subconscious minds. Most experts will agree, if not all experts, that our subconscious mind is much bigger than our conscious mind. So, for example, if you're looking at a sea, the ocean, a sea, your conscious mind would be a little tiny dot on that ocean, and the sea would represent your subconscious. So from the time we're born, some people again, a lot of doctors, scientists would argue even before we're born, we're being programmed. So a baby in the womb will pick up if its mother's stressed. There's been research done where parents are arguing and they can monitor the effect that that has on the baby. Don't forget as well, we've talked about chemicals, when people are stressed, adrenaline, cortisol, all those type of things. That baby's being fed by the umbilical cord, so it's going to pick up on these things. Some cultures used to sing to their babies while they were still in their mother's stomach. So if you think about it, we're being programmed before we're even born. Forget, don't let alone when we're born. And they say the first 7 years of life are the most important for being programmed, because we're like sponges. All of those things you've learned, all of those programs have to go somewhere. And I'm not talking about thousands of programs here. I'm talking about millions of programs, mainly from our parents, but teachers, television, everybody around us. Those programs have to be stored somewhere, and they're stored in your subconscious mind. That's why it's so big. It's massive. Consciously, we couldn't deal with all that information. So for me, it's one of the things that I'm really passionate about. I believe quite often things like depression, anxiety, compulsive disorders, addictions, anything you can really think of, quite often those things are bubbling up from our subconscious. Old thought patterns clashing with new patterns, new ways we want to be. So for example, you want to stand out, you want to be a successful business person, but it means that you've got to stand out. But some of these old patterns from childhood, from your parents, might have been, don't stand out, it's dangerous. If you put your head above the parapet, you'll get it knocked off. And these are programs that you might not even be aware of, but as soon as you go to stand out, these programs will be kicking in the background, and that's why you'll find it so uncomfortable to try and stand out. Old programs about not feeling good enough, not being good enough, who are you? All of these type of things are running in the background, which most of us are not even aware of, which makes it so hard to change, because with this tiny little conscious mind is battling against this massive subconscious mind. That's why, like I was saying the other day, I'm a big believer in exercise and diet and conditioning the mind. But don't forget, you're trying to condition something that's massive. And when I was thinking about, what I was going to talk about today, how I was going to try and get this across, I remembered a book I read years ago. And it's a really simple little book, but it's always stuck with me. I read lots of books, and to be fair, most of them don't stick, because again, I think they go into my subconscious mind. There's too much to remember. I'm reading 3 books at the moment. So, I just hope as much sticks as possible, but I do believe that it goes into my subconscious. But the ant and the elephant has really stuck with me. And in this story, it's a metaphor. In this story, I don't want to ruin it for you. If you want to get the book, I'll just give you a brief sort of synopsis of it. But in this story, there's a little ant, and he's got a dream. He lives in a jungle, massive jungle, and he's got a dream of getting to an oasis. But he's a tiny little ant, and the oasis is apparently it's on the other side of the jungle. So for him to get there is virtually impossible, or it's going to take him years and years and years. One day there's a big storm in the jungle, and the ant gets blown away. And when he lands, it takes him a while to realise, but after a while he realises he's being blown onto the back of a massive elephant. And he doesn't know what to do, because apparently elephants, they just do the same thing day in, day out. They get the same trail, and they just go around the same trails and keep going round and round and round and round. And this represents our subconscious mind. The elephant represents the subconscious mind. Luckily for the ant in this story, there's a wise old owl who flies down and says to him, look, if you can convince this elephant to take you towards the oasis, nothing's going to stop an elephant, and an elephant will get there, 100 times quicker than you ever would. And once the elephant goes in that direction, it'll go through anything, and like I said, nothing's going to stop it getting there. So the challenge for this ant is, how does he get this elephant to take him towards the oasis when all the elephant has done is used to just keep going around the same old tracks and just going around the same circles again and again and again. And that's the challenge in the book. But if you think about it, the ant represents the conscious mind. It's a tiny little ant, and the elephant represents a subconscious mind. So the message for me was that if your conscious mind can train your subconscious mind to go in the direction that you both agree with, you both want to go, then really, like people say, the world's your oyster. The problem is doing that and how to do it, and it's something you've got to be on the ball with all of the time. You've got to be thinking all of the time consciously, which is really hard. Think about it. Sometimes when you're driving, you could have a conversation with somebody sitting beside you. You might be engrossed in the conversation, and after a minute or a couple of minutes, which is a long time when you're driving, you realise, hang on a minute, I haven't really been concentrating on the road here. And then you start looking at the road and you realise that even though you haven't been really concentrating on your driving, you've been driving okay, your driving's fine. That's because you're on autopilot. That's your subconscious. And that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are designed to work together. They're incredible. It's when they clash, then that's the problem. When all this old programming that we're not even aware of, there's millions of programs running around in here, and we're not aware of most of them, and they clash with a new program that I'm trying to add, that's when we can have the problem. That's when we can get the addictions, the depressions, the anxieties, the compulsive disorders, all of those things. So that's why I was saying before, mindfulness, meditation, all those things do, training, exercise, getting your diet right, all of those things are helping you to build up your conscious mind, and helping you to train the subconscious mind to go in the way that you want it to go. But it's about bringing this into our awareness, which is the hard thing. I was watching a bee the other day. I like bees, but this is going to sound horrible. I don't think they're the cleverest of insects sometimes. They fly into the house and they just keep bouncing off the window again and again and again. And I was looking at this bee and I was thinking, if you just fly a few inches to the right, the back door's open, massive big back door to a bee, and you could just fly away. But for hours, the bee's just going bang, 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 bang. But it reminded me of us as people. Sometimes we keep doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting different results, which, people say is the definition of madness. So we need to be aware of that conscious mind. We need to be aware of training our subconscious mind, because if we can get it on side, like people say, the world is your oyster. But that's going to take a lot of work, because there's a lot of programs that have been running there since childhood. And like I said, a lot of them we're not even aware of. I was saying the other day about how Carl Jung, a famous psychiatrist, he disappeared for years and focused on delving into his subconscious mind, and he said it nearly drove him mad. This was psychosis, neurosis, a lot of those things bubble up from our subconscious mind, and that's what I wanted to share today. There's no easy answers to this. I've met loads of I don't want to name people, but I've met loads of different people, therapists, that will tell you, you can do this easily, you just need to do this, this and this. It takes work, like anything, it takes work. So, but you need to be working on these old patterns. Where are they from? Most of them are not even your patterns. They come from our parents. Might have been well-meaning, but they're not even your patterns. They're patterns that were programmed into you that you're not even aware of. So we need to bring them into our awareness, our conscious mind, and then we can start working on them. And that's what I wanted to share today. So enjoy the rest of your day. I hope this makes sense. If anyone's got any questions, just ask.